kilometre quick. We're doing some miles an hour. Today's been a long time coming. So as we go over the windy and very old and often crashed into Swarkstone Bridge, I think this has been a long time coming. Why? Well, today our Renault Sport Clio 220 trophy is finally going to see Mick again at Diamond Motors, the only place I would trust to take this car. Now, of course, Chloe has been to see Mick before. In fact, there's a little funny story, because those that have watched the video will already know that I sold this car. Well, I purchased this car in 2020. Let's start from the beginning. Purchased in 2020 during lockdown, had it delivered to my door by my trusted transport guy in May. By 2024, I'd done so little driving in Chloe, I decided I did maths rather than heart, and we sold her. Regretted it almost immediately. A few months later, I started looking for any low mileage trophy examples, preferably in red or liquid yellow. Couldn't find one. And then early in 2025, almost a year to the day that I'd sold Chloe, I saw one that looked identical in every way to her. It looked identical because it was Chloe, and I bought her back. Now, the funny bit of that story is, apart from the fact, of course, I bought the same car back, and I'm chuffed that I did. Not intending to sell her anytime soon again. In the negotiation when I was buying the car from this dealer near Chesterfield, Clay Cross near Chesterfield, I knew that if I said to them that I'd owned the car before, well, I was unlikely to get any discount, so I was negotiating money off the car, and part of the negotiation involved belts and stuff that I knew would probably need changing, because at the end of the day, I'd owned the car for 4 years before, and I doubted that they'd been done in that 1 year that somebody else had owned her, even though she had had a service at somewhere. I don't know where that place is, I don't know what the reviews are, but it had had a service and it's stamped in the book. So I said, oh, I'll be taking it to a trusted specialist. This was my negotiation. And he'll know straight away if the work hasn't been done. Now, of course, the garage was honest with me, fair play to them. They just said, well, if there's no paperwork to say it's been done, we won't say it's been done. That's all good. But then the chap I was negotiating with happened to say, well, where is this specialist that you'll take it to, just out of interest? And I said, oh, it's over, it's sort of East Midlands. I think it's not a million miles from East Midlands Airport. And he said, oh, right. And I could see him flicking through the service book. And he looked and he said, what's the name of the specialist that you use? I said, oh, it's Diamond Motors. He went, oh. He says, this car's been to Diamond Motors before. And I had to look and go, has it? So, of course, today it's going to see Mick at Diamond Motors again. Why have I waited so long? Well, combination of things, 3 things to be exact. Number 1, Mick, because he's a trusted specialist, he's very busy. You have to book him in advance. 2, my availability wasn't ideal either, so we needed to find a date, of course, that worked for Mick and for me. Thirdly, there's something that's been done today to the car that required a part that was on back order from France. So that's why we've had to wait for a while. But today is the day, and we're finally going to get Chloe sorted. I thought before we say any more, I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion about reliability on Clio RSs. Obviously the Mark IVs, that's what we're in today. I personally believe that the engine in these, which incidentally is almost identical to the engine used in the Nissan Juke.
Still, Nissan Juke.
You really hate the Juke?
No, I hate it.
He does hate it.
No,
He
I
genuinely
hate.
hates.
I object to it existing. It shouldn't exist.
It produces 217 horsepower or 220 PS, which is why it's called a 220 trophy. Maybe it's got 219.4 PS, but they didn't want to call it a 219.4 trophy. So the engine is almost identical to the Nissan Juke, and the reason for that is quite simple, of course. Renault purchased, or should I say, partly purchased Nissan many years ago, because I think Nissan were going bankrupt. I think at the time of filming there was a risk that Nissan was going bankrupt again, but anyway, it's kind of a Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi partnership. So it's of course logical that they're going to use an engine that's already made by one of those three. I think it's a robust engine. The gearbox is made by Getrag, so again, a very good manufacturer. And I'm not aware of any major issues with the gearboxes in these cars. Now, of course, you can have issues. One of the common issues that, I say common, I've just said they're reliable, but bear with me. Owners do report that they sometimes have a check auto gearbox problem. Now, incidentally, again, I bought one of these originally in 2016. It was about 6 months old. Had not much over 1,000 miles on it. I think it was a dealer demonstrator. In fact, I know it was. I bought one at 6 months old, and within a week of me owning it, or just over a week, I had a check auto gearbox warning come on and I lost gears. So turning the engine off and turning it on fixed it, and I was able to obviously get home, but ultimately it needed to go into Renault, didn't it? There started the fun. It took 3 attempts for Renault to get to the bottom of it. It was a TCM module, which is a transmission control module. That fixed that, and I never had a problem with that car again. Now, touch wood, I've not had a check auto gearbox in this car. However, one of the problems with these cars is, and we're finding this out because the cars are getting older, of course, is they're quite susceptible to battery condition. If the battery is not really proper, good condition, it can start throwing up error messages that aren't necessarily correct. So it's always good to have the battery tested and or just get a new battery fitted. So anyway, I think they're reliable. Not too long ago, someone on a group that I follow for these cars posted an image, and it had done, I think it was 233,000 miles. I'll put an image of the mileometer on now. The only thing we've had done to Chloe since the last video is an MOT, which revealed that there was 2 front tyres that weren't ideal, shall we say. Now, I can check tyres myself, but there was a couple of bits that they weren't happy with on the tyre that for whatever reason I hadn't noticed, and they were getting on a bit. So Chloe's now sporting 2 new Michelin Pilot Sport 5, so PS5s on the front. I still have Pilot Sport 4s, or PS4s on the rear. At the end of the day, my trusted tyre place said there's nothing wrong with the tyres at the back, so there's no reason to change them, so I haven't. As I was there and had the tyres fitted, I thought to myself, as I don't know what happened during the year that I didn't own this car, and let's be honest, there's a lot of potholes on the road, I thought I'd get a 4-wheel alignment check done. Now, the place I use, now this might be common, I don't know, but the place I use at least, they don't charge you if they don't find any alignment needs to be done. Now, I know someone's going to be watching and they're going to say, well, that's because they're going to find it needs to be done. But anyway, it didn't for Chloe, because the guy came back after setting it all up and doing the test and giving me the printout, and he said, that's as close to spot on as we've seen in a long time. And I was like, I was happy with that. So what are we having done with Mick today? Well, we're having a full service, of course, including belts. It's including spark plugs, and I'm intrigued to see, and I'll try and film the bit when the plugs come out. I'm intrigued to see, bearing in mind that Chloe's now 8 years old, whether she's ever had plugs replaced. She's never had them replaced during the time that I've owned her, but they didn't need changing. They absolutely would need changing now if they've been in for 8 years, because that means they've been in too long. So I'm intrigued to see. But more importantly, Chloe's having a crankshaft oil seal replaced. When Chloe went to Mick the last time, which was in 2023, he noticed there was a very slight leak, and at the time it was very, very, very slight, but he knew immediately what it was. So it was agreed that we would check on that the next service. Well, of course, by then I'd sold the car. I very much doubt that seal's been changed. We're going to get the crankshaft oil seal done today, and then basically see if Mick finds anything else that needs doing. So stay with me, my folks, and we'll see what Mick finds. See you in a bit.
Many hours later.
Ooh. So we're just leaving Diamond Motors after a long afternoon. And the first thing I'm going to say is, wow, I must be naive in my old age. I genuinely thought that the fitting of the AirTech cold boost side pipework that I obviously brought with me, because people say that it's a common failure point that the plastic cold boost pipe can crack as they get older. I didn't appreciate the amount of work that was involved for Mick to do that. How about that then? Hey ho. It's quite a lot of work. I'll put some photos in as I discuss what we've had done and what needs to be done and what we're going to do in the future. But yeah, wow. So to do it, Mick removed the front bumper, the front headlights, the front crash bar. Which is quite a lot to remove. So that's been fitted, so hopefully we're kind of helping, hopefully future-proofing the car a little with that. I think I paid £180, I think it was on deal at the time when I ordered it a few months ago. I know they can sell for 200, 225 or whatever. And of course, AirTech do a lot of other stuff, not just the cold boost side pipe work, but ultimately I thought to myself, well, we'll get it done and try and future-proof the car. I just didn't appreciate the amount of work that's needed. Mick, thank you for all that. I know I pay for the services, but I still appreciate the work that's done. So thank you for that, Mick. We've had the crankshaft oil seal done. It was clearly leaking. Again, there'll be photos in the video, so that's all good now. Obviously, oil and filter. It's had a belt done, because that's the only belt that's on the car. And the tensioner, etc. And the spark plugs. I got it in my head that I believed that the plugs would be the original, and the car is 8 years old. Now, of course, plug technology, which is why they're a lot more expensive, plug technology has obviously grown a lot since the days of when I think we used to change them every year. I'm sure the Metro used to have them every year. But anyway, the technology has improved a lot. But at 8 years old, I'm glad that they've finally been replaced, because yes, they were the original. So of course that's been done. What needs to be done? Well, at some point, someone, we think possibly to change the water pump, someone didn't put all the screws back. Some of the plastic underneath behind the bumper. And there's also a slight play in one of the CV joints, so we'll treat Chloe to a new one of them as well. And we'll replace the missing screws. Otherwise, she's absolutely fine. And in Mick's own words, she looks in fantastic condition. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's been an expensive day, but it's a day well worth doing. I was accused once on this video of looking happy when I spent over £1,000 on Millie the MG Metro. It's not that I'm happy I spent over £1,000, it's I'm happy that I've had done and done right by the car what needed to be done. I wanted it doing. I've earned the money that's paid for it, and I paid for it. So that's how it is today as well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy whatever it is you're driving. See you soon.